Hello everyone, here is the title of my dissertation, and the rationale for my dissertation is that educational psychologists and language pedagogues alike have wondered what are the characteristics of effective language learners when all other variables are similar. What makes one effective and what makes one ineffective? Recent research has suggested that there is an antecedental relationship between grit and academic achievement, as well as grit and retention in higher education. This isn't without its controversy, as the factor structure of the grit model has not yet fully been established. And so there's a lot of room for expanded research in this realm. In particular, grit has never been examined in a foreign language context among Spanish and Portuguese speakers enrolled in online ESL courses. So this is the impetus for this study. My research questions are these. What is the factor structure of the grit model in a second language learning environment? Is it unidimensional, bidimensional, or even tridimensional, as some suggest? What are the correlations between grit and academic achievement and grit and retention? The null hypothesis suggests no correlation, whereas the alternative hypothesis suggests a correlation. And finally, what is the association between grit, academic achievement, and grit and retention when controlling for the covariates of age, gender, socioeconomic situation, and first language among Spanish and Brazilian Portuguese learners in an online ESL environment? The null hypothesis again suggests no association, whereas the alternative hypothesis suggests an association when controlling for covariation. Duckworth and company sought to first establish the grit scale by using multiple items that they then, through an exploratory factor analysis, they pared down to 2 factors with 6 items loading to each factor. And the one factor being consistency of interest in whatever you're doing, and the other factor being a perseverance of effort towards some long-term goal. The bulk of the research has sought to establish the factor structure of the grit model. And again, as I mentioned, some factors show that a unidimensional model is a good fit for the grit concept, and it is correlative to academic achievement and retention. Many other studies have rejected the unidimensional structure in favor of a bidimensional structure where it was not consistency of interest, but rather perseverance of effort that most commonly showed a significant, strong correlation between academic achievement and retention in academic settings. This is important for online learners, in particular adult online learners, according to Revised Composite Persistence Model, where there are a number of variables that contribute to learners dropping out. Those are familial support, economic situation, access to technology, age, gender, other demographic information. So there's a lot of, I think, interesting things that we can find by studying such a group of learners such as this, because it's never been studied before, but there are a lot of variables that would be prohibitive for them to continue to persist in such an online program. And finally, English learning in and of itself is a very difficult task. It requires learning listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and grammar and vocabulary pursuant, in this case, to matriculation to an academic program, which can be a real challenge. The research design, the context of this is a pre-matriculation online ESL program which is situated at a large religious university in the Intermountain West. And the target sample population are 18-year-old plus native Spanish and Brazilian Portuguese speakers who are enrolled in this program. The instrument I will use is a Qualtrics survey, which will be administered through an email, and I'll do a test and retest for stability purposes. And it will deliver the grit scale in Spanish and Portuguese, as well as gather demographic data. The variables are grit level as the independent variable, and academic achievement and retention as the dependent variables. And the covariates are age, gender, native language, and socioeconomic situation. For the first question, I'm going to use a confirmatory factor analysis and triangulate through using a confirmatory factor index, confidence interval, root mean square, error of association analysis, as well as a chi-square. I'll also use a Pearson-R correlation to determine the correlation between grit and academic achievement and also retention. Then finally, I'll use a multiple regression that controls for covariation to answer the third question. Here are the sources that I use. Thank you.